Hello, I'm Sheikah X, and thank you for tuning into my channel. And today is a special day. What makes today special is because today is not only a new moon, but it's also a new year. According to Elohim's calendar, today is a new year. So with that being said, what makes today so significant? Well, today it's significant simply because 14 days from today will be Passover. And if you are a Bible-believing Christian, I urge you to consider this year keeping Passover instead of Easter, because Easter is really a watered-down version of Passover. So let's look at the Bible to see what day should we really be keeping. So in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, we know that this was during creation, and during creation, Elohim put the moon in the sky as a way to determine the new moons or the new months. That would also determine when his appointed feast would begin. So we can see here, even in the beginning, when the world was still perfect, he had already instituted his feast days, and they had already been established in a perfect world at the start of creation. So let's read in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And see what it says. Now, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 says, "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." Now, the word for season is the Hebrew word moed. Now, with that being said, moed is his appointed feast. And this means that at the start of creation, he had already established, like I said, that these feasts would be kept not only in a perfect world, but for all eternity. It would last forever. And there are also scriptures where Yahuah himself also says that he will continue to keep this even in the new world to come. So let's look at that scripture. "And as they did eat, Yahushua took bread and blessed and broke it and gave to and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. And he said unto them, This is my blood of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many. Amen, I say unto you, I will drink no more of the fruit of the vine until that day that I drink it anew in the kingdom of Elohim." And that is found in Mark chapter 14, verses 22 and 25. Now, from this text, we can clearly see that Yahuah is saying that this is a lasting ordinance, that this is something that he will do in his new kingdom. This is something that's going to continue forever. Now, also, let's look in the Torah and also see that this is also something that is to be done forever. It has no end. It did not end at the cross. This is a continuing ordinance. In Exodus chapter 12, verse 14, it says, "And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to Yahuah throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever." And that is found in Exodus 12, verse 14. So here we can see that this is something that is a lasting ordinance, and it continues forever. Forever means forever. That means that it doesn't end, even in the world to come. It was here in a perfect world, and it was also here in a sinful world, and it will be in the world to come. So with that being said, I urge you to consider looking into keeping Passover. And how do you prepare for Passover? Well, you prepare for Passover by getting rid of all of the things that would help to make breads or things like that rise, such as baking powder, baking soda, yeast. All of those things need to be out of the house. And if you don't want to get rid of them or throw them away, you can give them to a neighbor or maybe keep them in your car, but they should not be in your dwelling place. So during this time, it's a 7-day period where for 7 days you eat unleavened bread. And that means that when you get rid of that, the leaven represents sin. And so when we get rid of the yeast, and that is symbolically getting rid of the yeast out of our lives, things that don't belong, which could be something like Easter. And it's also physically getting the agents that allow bread to rise, getting rid of those things. We also know that in the New Testament, it was still kept. Passover was still kept even after Yeshua ascended into heaven. It was still kept. So let's look at that scripture as well. And it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 7 and 8, it says, "Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are matzah. For even Mashiach our Pecach is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the matzah of sincerity and truth." Now the phrase, "let us keep the feast," is the Greek word here, tazo, which means to keep a feast, to celebrate a feast. Okay, now there are some of you who are saying, well, didn't he give the feast days to the Jews? Isn't Passover a Jewish holiday? No, it's not a Jewish holiday. When you read Leviticus 23, it says these are the feasts of the Lord. These are the feasts of Elohim. So they are not Jewish feasts, because we have to remember at the beginning in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, remember these feast days were already set in place before any Jew even existed. So if you are a Bible believer, this is something that we all as Bible believers should be keeping. It is a lasting ordinance. It is forever, and it will never go away. And the only thing that has been done away with is the sacrificial lamb, but the day itself is to be kept. As Seventh Adventists, I know we keep communion, but when you really look at it, communion is really just a watered down version of Passover. It really is. So when we look at the scriptures, we can clearly see that this is something that is forever. Whenever Elohim establishes something, it's forever. So this is the start of a new year. So we want to get rid of the leaven, which means we're going to get rid of Easter, Thanksgiving, all these other pagan holidays that we know are not really of Elohim. We want to keep the real feast days. And with that being said, I hope this is a good new year for you. And I hope that we can keep his new moons and we can just work on having a great new year. And with that being said, I'm going to blow the shofar. And actually, I blew the shofar and it was cold that day. It was like 37 degrees. I don't think I will start blowing it until it gets warm outside, but I did the best that I could. So anyway, I hope you have a good year, and I hope we're preparing for Passover, because this is what Elohim wants us to do. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video here, and I look forward to Passover, and I hope you are too. Thank you, and shalom. In the Hebraic calendar, Passover in 14 days. Shalom.